the topic of hitlamdut. If you remember, we spoke about this very, very difficult challenge that we need to navigate. Oh, Shalom Yisrael, how are you doing? This difficult challenge you have to navigate when you're involved in like growth. It's sometimes the older you get, the more you realize that the more you realize this, that wanting to do the right thing doesn't always guarantee that you do the right thing. And therefore, just like we invest a lot of chokhmah in thinking about, I don't know, what degree to study or, like a life path. So it's not good. So too, I need to invest a lot of wisdom in navigating the path of personal growth. It's not good enough just to want to be better in order to ensure that we are better, because sometimes the changes that we make could cause more damage than harm. And therefore, when we choose in what area we'd like to improve, we have to really make that decision b'chokhmah. And what we discussed last time is the idea of hitlamdut. Hitlamdut was about being present in a moment, about noticing what's happening. Like sometimes we are on autopilot when we are, when we're sort of just like going about our day-to-day business. I know I do a lot of walking. And sometimes when you're walking, I listen to things whilst I'm walking, and you can sort of not realize that you're actually walking. And then 10 minutes later, you say, oh, wow, it's amazing. I got here already. I didn't realize that I was doing that. But not just when I'm walking, just in many areas of life. Sometimes you wake up 1 minute and say, wow, how did I get there? So the first stage that we spoke about was just to be present. Hitlamdut meant just to be aware of a moment. And that allows us to be a bit more sensitive, a bit more aware, a bit more sort of like involved in what's going on. Then, after we spoke about being present, we were moving on to observing that which we see around us. And we spoke about observing goodness around us. We always said, we've mentioned in the past that we always see that which we're looking for. There are many contexts in which you can understand this. If you've buy a new shirt, you'll notice everybody's shirts because you're just thinking about shirts. But if you're thinking of goodness, you'll notice goodness around you. And the last time we learnt, we were going to make an effort to, when we engage in the people around us, to look for opportunities to learn from the people around us. Everyone around us has some trait that we can admire, especially here in the Machon. You can certainly find people who can guide us, who can teach us. I'm not just talking about some of the teachers here, but I'm talking about everybody here. The fellow students, staff members, really everybody who walks into the door, walks and spends time here. Many guests, many visitors come around here. There's always something you can learn from people around you. So we were going to make an effort just to be aware of goodness in the people around us, and to use that as a what's the word, like a catapult to work a little bit on ourselves. The chokhmah of that, the wisdom of sort of using people around me as my teachers, the wisdom of that is often when I'm involved in personal growth, it means separating myself from my group. And when I separate myself from my group, that could lead me to a sense of superiority. Yesterday I was one of them, but now I'm not one of them anymore. And then any gain that I might have got through, behaving in a more appropriate manner in one area of life, I might blow it in another area of life, because I now look down on everyone around me. You follow? So the idea of using the people around me as my trigger to learn, to use them and to learn from them, is really a way of avoiding that problem. Is that clear? Okay. That's really a summary. Now we're going to move on to the next topic. Now we're talking about not about learning from other people, but by using these skills that we are honing about being present in the moment, being aware of what's going on around me, using that to move on to the topic of chesed. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to read the introduction, and then I'm going to read the introduction to the topic of chesed, and then our task for this week. So this is the sixth perek of the section that talks about avodah musarit, which is ethical work. Okay, chesed. He writes like this: Hanachash, that is to say, the snake in the biblical story in Bereshit, said, Pita et chava ba'omro, vaitem ke'elokim yotzrei olamot. Uveze nit pateta, ki omek teshukato shel kol adam hiu lichyot yotzer olamot. Hanachash hite et chava, שהגיעו לזה על ידי פרי עץ הדר, שיוליד להם כוח הדמיון, וכאילו הדמיון הוא הכוח היוצר עולמות, ולא היא. הכוח הזה הוא חסד. Okay, he says like this. How did the serpent manage? Yeah.
The flint is under the Mehomet TV.
What is?
Under this I put the flint.
Oh, you're a superstar. Oh, thank you so much. This is brilliant. Thank you so much. But this is for the next section. But thank you very, very much. We look forward to using this very shortly. Bezrat Hashem. Stay tuned for the next video. Okay, so the snake managed to lure Chava by telling her, if you eat from this fruit, you'll be like God. You'll be like God. And that really was very attractive to Chava. And when Chava heard that from the snake, she, as we know, ate. But the Rav Volber explains to us the real ability to build worlds. To build is through acts of chesed. We say Olam Chesed Yibaneh, that we build the world. We build the world through acts of kindness. Now, to do good for other people is actually a very, very complicated thing to do. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. I'm going to summarize rather than reading inside. When somebody asks you for something and you provide it, I mean, that's great. I mean, it's a very worthwhile, I don't mean to belittle that, that's certainly a very worthwhile thing to do. But that's in the way that we're looking at over here, that's chesed level 2. But what's chesed level 1? Chesed level 1 is to know what somebody needs without them needing to ask for it. I'll give you an example. Let's say here at the Machon, you have study time, and then you also have free time. Let's say you're sitting with a chevra on Shabbat, and you notice, oh, shalom aleichem, how are you doing, Yosef? Pleasure to see you. You see somebody on Shabbat, and they're a little bit low. Like things aren't going great, for they don't. Shabbat is the holiest, most exciting time of the week, and they just don't seem into it. Now, if you were to go over to this person and they enjoy, I don't know, some activity on a Motzei Shabbat, they like going bowling. So you say, but not because they said anything, but you say, the chevra are going bowling tonight, fancy going bowling? That's at chesed, because it's observing. I see, that there's a sweet soul in need, and they didn't say anything, but I sense that's what they need, and then that's what I do. You follow? Chesed is not about answering a request. Like there's a sign, we see a lot of them, and it's an amazing thing, because the Jewish people are so full of chesed, especially now during the war. There's many, many opportunities for us to give to other people. But true chesed is I don't mean true chesed, but maybe chesed 2 and chesed 1. Chesed 2 is you need to have the time to do it, but it's very clear what you need to do. There's a sign on the notice board and it says families need X. So then if I'm able to provide it, so then I'm there and I'm able to provide that. That's sort of chesed type 2. Chesed type 1 is taking this skill that we are honing of observing the world around me and noticing things that are unspoken. The opportunity to sort of intervene when no one said anything at all. That is chesed, I would say, not just type 1, but even level 1. Because it's understanding what somebody might need, even without them saying it, and even more, maybe even without them being aware that that's what they need. Atem shomim et zeh? It requires really understanding other people. So our challenge for the coming week, Be'ezrat Hashem, is to take this idea of not just Chesed 2, but Chesed 1. If you follow, it's been a progression. The first stage is just like to be present in the world. So I'm going to take our Friday night meal, which is just 2 nights away, Friday night meal in Machon Meir. So let's say before we started, I could physically be sitting in the room, but my mind could be elsewhere. So the first stage is just to be present, to sing Shalom Aleichem, and to really feel that we are welcoming the angels into our Shabbat meal. And when I say Kiddush and I say Mekadesh HaShabbat, I'm there, I'm present in that moment. You follow? And when I sing the Zemirot, to be there. When I eat the food, okay, that's the first level. The second level that we said is to look at the people around me and to learn. I can see this person, often meal times are an amazing opportunity to learn. Because sometimes when people are hungry, they're less, dignified. Sort of like there's like 4 pieces of schnitzel and there's one person determined to get the biggest. Not him. But there's some people that are more reserved and they're, make sure everyone else has got. That's something to observe and to learn from. That's level 2. Level 3, and that's where we are now, and this is Chesed type 1, is to be so aware of the people around me that I know what to say to people, or I know what people need, and to be able to provide them with things that they didn't even say they needed. Maybe they don't even know that that's what they need. You follow? That is chesed. That's real kindness to somebody else, to be able to provide them with things that they don't even know. Okay. With that, that's really the end of what I want to say for today. The classic example, but I'll just add that at the end, and Be'ezrat Hashem, for all of you, you'll implement this in marriage. In marriage, it's really, really a very, very powerful tool, and it's something that you work on all the time. If sometimes she shouldn't need to say, "Can you make me a cup of tea?" or whatever, you should know already that that's what she needs. Atem shomim? She shouldn't need to say, "I need A, B, or C." That you should be so in tune and so present that I understand, really, and I'm there to provide even without the need for her to articulate it. So Be'ezrat Hashem, in the context of marriage, we shall be blessed to get there. But for now, the yeshiva environment is a perfect environment to hone these skills, and the better we're able to hone them here in the yeshiva, the better spouses, Be'ezrat Hashem, will merit to be as a result of that. Yishar Koach. So we'll pause there.